A winner, Olympian, community leader, and a giant. All valid adjectives to describe William Felton Russell. He left a legacy on the hardwood that would only be sniffed by a select few, carrying himself as the pro's pro, striving to make the world a better place. Bill Russell's career was full of firsts, blazing a path for those who would follow. Born February 12, 1934 in Monroe, Louisiana, Bill's hardships in life began early. He and his family struggled with racism. Things such as lynching and segregated schools were common practice in Louisiana. By the age of 8, the family had moved to Oakland, California, where they would fall into poverty, and things would only grow more complicated when Russell's mom died when he was 12. So Bill turned to sports to find a release. Though an incredible athlete, his fundamentals and basketball IQ were questionable at the time. Nearly cut from his high school team at McClemens High School in Oakland as a freshman. His high school coach, however, George Powell's, encouraged Russell to continue to work on his fundamentals. With some warm words from Powell and the advantage of a growth spurt, Russell's skills began to take shape. He played high school basketball with future Baseball Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, where he learned how to play defense by being flat-footed, but reacting quickly to block shots. His unusual style would result in the block, a stat that wouldn't be recorded until much later. Russell avidly read issues of Dell magazines to study his opponents before games, which resulted in him practicing in a mirror to prepare. As his skills progressed, Russell was only offered by a single school, University of San Francisco, and Hal DeJulio, a recruiter from that school. He was initially unimpressed with Russell's fundamentals and lack of offensive ability, but DeJulio felt there was something more to Russell, especially in terms of his clutch gene and instincts. He offered Russell, who accepted with great enthusiasm. When at USF, Russell was a two-time consensus All-American, a back-to-back NCAA champion, the 1955 NCAA Tournament's most outstanding player, the 1956 College Player of the Year, and had the two most outstanding NCAA tournament games ever. The first championship game in 1955, Russell finished the game with 23 points and grabbed 25 rebounds, with his future NBA teammate Casey Jones by his side. While at USF, Jones and Russell perfected the alley-oop, a high-flying pass that has become a standard practice in today's NBA. In the 1956 NCAA championship game, Russell recorded a 27-point, 26-rebound effort. The biggest moment was where Russell would shine. John Wooden, the famed John Wooden, would call Bill Russell the greatest defensive man I have ever seen. Russell dominated track and field too, making it known he was more athletic than LeBron much later on his Twitter. Track and Field News had ranked Russell as the 7th best high jumper in the world and 2nd in the United States at the time. Russell won 3 high jump titles in 1956. He would tie Charlie Dumas, the gold medalist for high jumping at the 1956 Olympics, in one of those meets. He would complete one of the greatest college careers ever, and they would declare for the 1956 NBA draft. Red Auerbach, the dual head coach and executive of the Boston Celtics, made his intentions known that Russell was wanted in Beantown and would do anything to draft him. Ed Macauley, the star center for the Celtics at the time, was considerably a much better offensive player than Russell, and his defense was a secondary tool. But Auerbach flipped the thinking. Boston had always been a fantastic offensive team. They just needed a renovation on the defensive side. The Rochester Royals could neither afford or wanted to take Russell. The St. Louis Hawks were intrigued by Ed Macauley, as he had ties with the city. After much debate, Red Auerbach decided to pull the trigger, sending away Macauley, Cliff Hagan, who hadn't played a game for the Celtics, to the St. Louis Hawks for the draft pick which he would use to select Bill Russell. But before that, there was the 1956 Olympics. The team would annihilate opponents by an average margin of 53.5 points per game, going a perfect 8-0 en route to the gold medal. By the time he arrived, Russell would lead the league in rebounding at 19.6 rebounds per contest. The Celtics instantly flipped the script and became the best defensive team in the NBA. The Celtics marched to the NBA Finals, where they would beat the St. Louis Hawks in 7 games against Bob Pettit and the 2 players that Auerbach traded away, Cliff Hagan and Ed Macauley, in that offseason. Auerbach and Russell would fuel the most ruthless NBA dynasty, winning 9 straight titles from 1956 to 1966. Remember that clutch gene? How about that iconic Game 7 in the 1962 Finals, where Bill Russell grabbed 40 rebounds and scored 30 points to defeat Jerry West and Elgin Baylor? Russell would lead the league in rebounding 5 times during the dynasty. He would make 11 All-NBA teams, win 5 MVPs, tied for the second most ever. He would make 12 All-Star appearances, and of course, a lot of winning. Then came a changing of the guard. In October of 1966, Bill Russell was named player-head coach of the Celtics following Auerbach stepping down. When the official announcement was made, and Russell responded with a resounding yes, there was a press conference. One of the journalists asked how he would coach. Russell had responded, "Because the most important factor is respect. And in basketball, I respect a man for his ability, period." The first team to start 5 black players had hired the first black head coach in NBA history. Russell, the player coach, would go on to win 2 titles in his 3 tries as head coach, totaling 11 of the last 13 NBA championships. But it wasn't always pretty. Russell continued to battle racism despite his enormous on-court success. Ahead of an exhibition game in the 1961-62 NBA season, a game where the team was expected to play in Lexington, Kentucky, the Celtics were refused service by a local restaurant. Russell often made it clear he did not play for Boston. He played for the Celtics. But Russell was so paranoid by the racism in America at the time, he called the city of Boston and its media racist and corrupt. Celtics fans did not take lightly to Russell and his thoughts of Boston, so much so that his house in Reading, Massachusetts was vandalized when people broke in, defaced his bed, damaged his trophies, and Russell responded by calling Boston a flea market of racism. When Russell retired in 1969, after the 13th and final title, he would finish as the Celtics' all-time leader in rebounds with an astonishing 21,620 boards grabbed, the most win shares in team history with 163.5, and if blocks were recorded, he would have easily claimed that title as well. Nonetheless, Russell's jersey retirement ceremony in 1972 was not attended by fans, nor did he attend his own Hall of Fame induction in 1975. His sour relationship with the media did have something to do with it, but as time went on, Russell grew and changed. He would be named Sportsman of the Year in 1968, making all of the NBA anniversary teams, and received consistent recognition as one of the greatest centers and players ever in basketball history. He would join ABC in 1971 to do a commentary of the Game of the Week, but didn't find it as something he wanted to do after his playing days. Russell became a vegan, he played a lot of golf, and even became a full-time head coach with the Supersonics in 1973. And from 73 to 1977, Bill Russell laid out the foundation for the Supersonics. He took them to the NBA playoffs for the first time in their history from 1974 to 1976. After coaching, he started in television, hosting an episode of Saturday Night Live in 1979. Made cameos on Miami Vice in 1986. He even wrote a book called Second Wind. He wanted to give back. Time continued to pass. Russell continued to make amends. By the 1990s, Russell and the Celtics agreed to retire his jersey in front of a sellout crowd. That took place May 6, 1999, in front of a jam-packed TD Garden with Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and his on-court arch-rival Wilt Chamberlain present. Following a standing ovation, Russell thanked Chamberlain for pushing him to the limit, squandering a beef that had stood for years. Russell also helped Shaquille O'Neal end his feud with Kobe Bryant. In 2010, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In 2013, he started the Bill Russell Legacy Project and had a statue erected of him in Boston and children to inspire kids that they can achieve anything based on their merit. In 2017, he won the NBA's inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award. And on stage that same night, told Shaq, Kareem, Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning, and David Robinson that he would kick their butt. Bill Russell didn't just become the greatest winner in the history of team sports. He didn't just ignite the greatest dynasty ever. He didn't just fight for what he thought was right. He won at the game of life. He taught everyone that you can achieve anything as long as you put your mind to it. He taught us that people should be judged on the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. He taught us that when you make mistakes, you have to live with them, but time and effort can heal them. By the age of 88, on July 31st, 2022, Bill Russell passed away peacefully in his home, leaving behind a legacy that will have a lasting impact forever.